I didn't go looking for the job. That's the part I keep coming back to. Like it changes anything. I wasn't chasing danger or trying to get involved in something illegal. I was just broke, tired, and out of options in a way that makes you stop asking the right questions. The listing showed up at 2:13 a.m. on a freelance board I barely used anymore. No company name, no logo, just a title that read, Night Moderator, Private Network. The pay was high enough that I assumed it was a scam at first. $30 an hour, overnight shifts only, remote, no experience required. I almost scrolled past it. What stopped me wasn't the money. It was the wording in the description. It didn't try to sell anything. No buzzwords, no fake enthusiasm, no promises about growth or opportunity. Just a short paragraph written in flat, almost clinical language. Monitoring and moderating live user-generated content on a private network. Candidates must be comfortable working overnight hours. Strong emotional regulation required. Must follow all listed guidelines without deviation. At the bottom there was a single line in bold. Failure to follow protocol may result in immediate termination. That should have been enough to close the tab. It wasn't. I clicked apply. The application form was shorter than anything I'd ever seen. Name, email, time zone. Then one question. Are you able to follow instructions exactly, even when they seem unnecessary or unclear? There were only two options, yes or no. I hovered over it longer than I'd like to admit. It felt like one of those trick questions where the answer mattered more than anything else. Not because of what it said, but because of what it implied. I clicked yes. The response came almost immediately. Not an automated "will be in touch," not a delay, just a new page loading with a block of text. You are scheduled for a live evaluation. Start time, 3:00 a.m. your local time. Do not be late. Below that was a download link labeled Client Interface. No company name, no signature, nothing. 2:27 a.m. 33 minutes. I remember sitting there staring at the screen, feeling like I'd already made a decision without realizing it. I downloaded the file. It installed faster than anything should have. No prompts, no permissions, just a black window opening on my screen with a single line of white text. Wait. So I waited. At exactly 3 a.m., the screen changed. A chat window appeared on the left. A video panel on the right, currently black. At the top, a small digital clock counting seconds in precise, silent increments. Then a message popped up. Welcome. You will observe and moderate incoming streams. Remove content that violates protocol. A second message followed immediately. Before beginning, read the rules. A document opened over the interface. Plain white background, black text, numbered, like a checklist. There were 10 rules. The first 3 felt normal enough. Rule 1. Remove any content involving explicit violence within 5 seconds. Rule 2. Remove any content involving minors immediately. Rule 3. Do not engage with users directly. Standard moderation guidelines. Nothing unusual. Rule 4 was where it shifted. Do not maximize the video feed. I frowned at that. Why would that matter? Rule 5. If a stream appears to buffer but the timer continues, do not refresh. Rule 6. If you hear your name, mute the audio immediately and do not unmute for the remainder of the stream. I sat back slightly in my chair. That wasn't normal. Rule 7. Do not acknowledge any content that appears to reference your environment. Rule 8. If the screen goes completely black, but the stream remains active, look away. Rule 9. If a second window opens, do not interact with it. Rule 10 was at the bottom, separated from the rest. Under no circumstances should you allow a flagged stream to continue past 3 minutes. I read through them twice, then a third time. Each rule made less sense the longer I looked at it, but together they formed something that felt intentional. Not random, not a joke. Like they had been written because something had already happened. A new message appeared in the chat. Evaluation begins now. The black screen on the right flickered. Then the first stream loaded. It showed a dimly lit room. Concrete walls, no windows. A single chair in the center, facing the camera. Empty. A timer appeared in the corner of the video. 012, 013, 014. I waited. Nothing happened. No movement. No sound. Just the room. At 0027, the audio clicked on. A low hum filled the speakers. Electrical, maybe. Hard to place. I glanced back at the rules. Nothing about ambient noise. The timer kept moving. 041, 042. At 046, something shifted in the corner of the frame. Not a person. Not exactly. More like a change in the light. A distortion, subtle but wrong, like heat rising off asphalt. I leaned forward slightly. Then I remembered Rule 4, do not maximize the video feed. I hadn't. Still, I leaned back. At 0102, the distortion moved again. Closer to the chair now. The audio changed with it. The hum deepened, layered with something else underneath. A faint, uneven rhythm, not mechanical, breathing. I reached for the mute button without thinking, then stopped. Rule 6 only applied if I heard my name. I hadn't. Yet. The timer hit 119. The distortion tightened, pulling inward until it almost had shape. Not clear, not defined, but enough to suggest something standing where there had been nothing seconds before. I felt a pressure in my ears, like the room I was in had gotten smaller. Then the figure, or whatever it was, tilted slightly, not toward the camera, toward me. The audio sharpened, the breathing got louder, and underneath it, just barely, there was something else. A voice, too quiet to make out. I froze. The timer hit 142. Evaluate. My cursor hovered over the controls. Remove or allow. My chest felt tight. There was no explicit violence, no minors, no clear violation of the first 3 rules. But the rest didn't tell me what to remove. They told me how to survive watching. The voice in the audio grew clearer. Not louder, closer. I leaned in before I could stop myself. And that's when I realized something was wrong. The voice wasn't coming from the video. It was coming from behind me. I didn't turn around. That was the first decision I made that probably kept me in the chair. Every instinct I had told me to look. The sound was too close, too real, like someone leaning just behind my shoulder, close enough that I should have felt their breath on my neck. But the rules were still open in my mind, sharp and deliberate. Do not acknowledge any content that appears to reference your environment. This counted. It had to. I kept my eyes locked on the screen. The timer read 0157. The thing in the video hadn't moved again, but I could feel it there, just at the edge of definition. The distortion held its shape now, taller than the chair, narrow at the top, like a head tilted too far to one side. Behind me, the voice shifted. Not words, not yet. Just the sound of something trying to form them. My name almost came through again, stretched thin, like it had to travel too far to reach me. I slammed the mute button. The audio cut instantly. Silence filled the room so completely it felt artificial, like I'd stepped into a vacuum. The timer hit 206. I didn't breathe. On screen, the figure twitched. That was the only word for it. A sharp, unnatural jerk, like a skipped frame in a video. Except the timer hadn't stuttered. It kept counting forward, smooth and steady. 0209, 0210. The chat blinked again. Action required. My cursor hovered over the controls. Remove, allow. Not in the normal sense. But Rule 10 sat in the back of my mind, heavier than the rest. Under no circumstances should you allow a flagged stream to continue past 3 minutes. Flagged. What qualified as flagged? The stream hadn't marked itself, but the rules weren't written for clarity. They were written for recognition, and I recognized this. Whatever it wasn't meant to stay. I clicked remove. The screen went black instantly. The timer disappeared. For a second, nothing replaced it. Then the next stream loaded. Bright, compared to the last one. A small kitchen, clean but outdated. Yellow overhead light. A table with 2 chairs. A refrigerator humming softly in the background. Normal. Too normal. A man sat at the table, facing away from the camera. Shoulders hunched, head slightly bowed, like he was looking at something in his hands. The timer reset. 003, 004. No distortion, no strange lighting, just a room. I exhaled slowly, not realizing I'd been holding my breath until that moment. The man at the table shifted, slowly, deliberately. He raised his right hand and placed something on the table. A phone. The screen lit up. Even from a distance, I could see text on it. Large, bright, readable. Turn around. My stomach dropped. The camera angle didn't change. The man didn't turn. But the message wasn't for him. It was angled slightly upward, positioned so it faced the camera directly, faced me. I glanced at the rules again, even though I already knew. Rule 7. Do not acknowledge any content that appears to reference your environment. This was exactly that. The man's shoulders rose and fell once, like a slow breath. Then again. The room's audio picked up faintly. Not the same hum as before. This was different. Softer. Domestic. The quiet sound of a house at night. Pipes. Electricity. The refrigerator's low, steady vibration. Then something else. A second set of breathing. Not the man's. From somewhere off camera. The timer hit 0039. The phone screen flickered. The message changed. He is behind you. I felt my pulse in my throat. The instinct came back, stronger this time. Turn around. Check. Confirm there's nothing there. That's how this worked. It didn't need to show me anything directly. It just needed me to look. I forced my hands flat against the desk. Didn't move. The man at the table tilted his head slightly, as if listening. Then, slowly, he began to stand. The chair scraped against the floor with a long, drawn-out sound that made my teeth ache. He didn't turn toward the camera. He turned toward the side of the room, toward whatever was breathing. The timer ticked forward. 0102, 0103. The phone screen dimmed, then went black. The overhead light flickered once, twice, then steadied. The man took a step, then another. His movements were stiff, like he wasn't fully in control of them, or like he was following something. The breathing off camera grew louder, closer. The chat blinked. Evaluate. I didn't hesitate this time. I clicked remove. The stream cut immediately. No hesitation, no delay, just gone. The next one loaded faster than before. A hallway, long, narrow, painted in a dull gray that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Doors lined both sides, all closed. At the far end, a single light flickered weakly, casting uneven shadows along the floor. The timer started. 001, 002. No movement, no sound. I waited. Seconds stretched longer than they should have. 0015, 0016. Then a door on the left side of the hallway creaked open. Just a few inches. Slow, careful, like whatever was inside didn't want to be heard. I leaned forward slightly before catching myself. Rule 4. Don't get closer. The gap widened. Darkness filled the space beyond the door. Not just shadow. Something heavier. Thicker. The kind of dark that didn't look empty. The audio clicked on. Soft. Barely there. A whisper. I couldn't make out the words at first. Just the cadence of speech. Then, gradually, it sharpened. Not louder. Clearer. It wasn't one voice. It was several. Layered. Speaking over each other in low, overlapping murmurs that made it impossible to focus on any single one. The timer hit 0043. The door stopped moving. Held in place, just open enough to suggest an invitation. Or a warning. The whispers shifted, aligned. For a brief moment they synchronized into something almost understandable. A phrase, repeated. "Stay where you are." My chest tightened. That wasn't directed at anything in the hallway. It was directed at me. The chat blinked again. "Do not interact." I hadn't, but the reminder felt intentional, like the system knew what the stream was trying to do. The light at the end of the hallway flickered harder now, casting quick, stuttering shadows that seemed to move independently of the walls. The whispers grew sharper, more urgent. "Stay where you are. Stay. Stay." The timer hit 0112. Another door opened, this time on the right side. Faster, wider. Inside, nothing visible, just that same dense, unnatural darkness. The whispers stopped abruptly. Total silence. Then a single voice cut through. Clear, close, right next to the microphone. "If you move, it sees you." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The timer continued. 0129, 0130. The two open doorways remained still, waiting. The hallway stretched between them like something held in tension. And then, something stepped out. It didn't come from either doorway. That was the first thing that felt wrong. Both doors were open, both filled with that same heavy darkness. But whatever stepped into the hallway didn't emerge from them. It appeared between them, as if it had always been standing there, just out of sight until the moment it chose not to be. The shape was incomplete. Not invisible, worse than that. It was visible in pieces, like parts of it belonged to different frames that hadn't been aligned properly. A shoulder that lagged half a second behind the rest of its body. A head that tilted before the neck moved. Edges that didn't connect unless I looked at them indirectly. I focused on the floor instead. Rule 8 echoed in my head. If the screen goes completely black, but the stream remains active, look away. This wasn't that. Not exactly. But it felt close enough that I didn't want to risk treating it like normal footage. The timer hit 144. The figure took a step forward. No sound. Its movement didn't match the environment. The light flickered, but it didn't affect the thing. Shadows didn't fall across it correctly. It passed through them instead of interacting with them. Another step. The distance between it and the camera shortened. The chat window blinked once. Do not maximize. I hadn't, but I understood why that rule existed now. If this filled the screen, if it got closer, clearer, there was a sense that something about it would resolve in a way it wasn't supposed to. The hallway lights flickered again, harder this time. The image glitched, not digitally, but physically, like the space itself skipped. For a fraction of a second, the hallway stretched longer than it should have been. The doors duplicated, repeating down both sides in a pattern that vanished as quickly as it appeared. The figure didn't glitch. It stayed exactly where it was, stable, fixed, watching. The timer hit 203. The chat pulsed. Evaluate. I didn't wait. Remove. The stream cut. The next one loaded immediately, like the system didn't want any gap between them. A bedroom, small, claustrophobic. The camera positioned high in the corner, angled down toward a bed, pushed against the wall. Someone was lying in it, covers pulled up to their chest, facing the camera, eyes open. I felt a sharp drop in my stomach when I realized why. It was me. Not exactly, not perfectly, but close enough that my brain didn't reject it immediately. Same general features, same posture, same room layout as mine, or close enough to suggest it had been built from memory rather than reality. The timer started. 0.05, 0.6. The version of me on the bed didn't move, didn't blink, just stared directly into the camera. The lighting in the room was wrong, too dim to see clearly, but not dark enough to hide anything. The kind of half-light that made details feel uncertain. I glanced around my actual room without turning my head. Everything was the same. Desk, Wall, door, closed. The audio clicked on. Silence at first, then the faintest sound of fabric shifting. Not from the video, from my room. I froze. Rule 7. Do not acknowledge any content that appears to reference your environment. This was beyond reference. This was overlap. On screen, the version of me smiled, slowly, too slowly. The movement dragged, like it had to be processed before it could happen. My chest tightened. I hadn't moved. I hadn't smiled, but it had. The timer hit 0:31. The thing on the bed sat up. Its movements were smoother now, more natural, like it was learning or adjusting. The camera angle didn't change, but I could see more of the room now. Behind it, the door, open. In the video, my door was open. In reality, it was closed. I knew that. I was sure of it. The sound came again. Fabric. Closer this time. From behind me. I didn't turn. The thing on the screen swung its legs over the side of the bed and stood up. Its proportions were slightly off. Arms a little too long. Head tilted just a degree too far forward. It took a step toward the camera. Toward me. The chat blinked rapidly now. Do not interact. Do not acknowledge. Do not turn around. That last one hadn't been in the original rules. The system was adapting, or reacting. The timer hit 00:52. The thing stopped moving. It tilted its head, mirroring something, listening. The sound behind me stopped. Complete silence again. On screen, it opened its mouth and spoke. My voice, perfectly matched. Don't ignore me. I hit remove hard. The screen cut before it could say anything else. My hand stayed on the mouse, fingers tense, like if I let go, something would change. The next stream didn't load immediately. For the first time, there was a delay. The screen stayed black, but the timer appeared anyway. 001, 002, no image, just the timer. Rule 8. If the screen goes completely black, but the stream remains active, look away. I turned my head to the side, not far, just enough that the screen was out of my direct line of sight. The room felt different immediately, heavier, like the air had thickened. The timer continued. 0011, 0012. I kept my eyes fixed on the wall, didn't look back. The audio clicked on, and I heard it clearly this time, not from the speakers, from the room. Breathing, multiple, surrounding me, close, too close. My pulse spiked, but I held still. The rules weren't about comfort, they were about survival. The timer ticked forward. 0027, 0028. The breathing synced. In, out, like something practicing, learning rhythm, matching mine. I didn't look. Couldn't. If I looked, I'd break the rule. And I had the growing, unmistakable sense that the rules weren't arbitrary. They were the only reason I was still sitting there. The breathing stopped. All at once. Cut clean. The silence that followed was worse than the sound, because it meant whatever was there had finished adjusting. The timer hit 041. Something moved. Rope beside me. Close enough that I felt the shift in air. A presence leaning in, waiting. I kept my eyes on the wall. Didn't react. Didn't acknowledge. Seconds dragged. 049, 050. Then, quietly, right next to my ear, a voice spoke. Not from the system, not from the stream, from the room. We can see you now. I didn't react. That's the part that matters most. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to move, to stand up, to get out of the chair and turn on every light in the room just to prove there was nothing there. But the rules had stopped feeling like guidelines a long time ago. They were boundaries, and the second you crossed one, something noticed. The voice that had spoken was close enough that I could feel where it had been, like a cold spot, lingering in the air beside my head. But it didn't repeat itself. It didn't push further. It had said what it needed to say. We can see you now. Not I. We. The timer continued behind me. 058. 059. I kept my eyes on the wall, unfocused, fixed on nothing. My breathing was shallow, controlled, measured out in seconds, because anything uneven felt like it might draw attention. At 107, the audio shifted again. Not from the room this time, from the system. A low tone, steady and mechanical, like a signal reconnecting. Then the chat made a soft, deliberate sound. A new message. I still didn't look. Stream stabilized. You may resume viewing. Not, please. Not, continue. May, permission. Which meant whatever had been happening wasn't supposed to be part of the evaluation. Or it was, and this was the point where most people failed. I turned my head back toward the screen slowly, carefully. The video had returned. Same black background as before, but now there was something in it. A shape, centered, still incomplete, like the figure from the hallway, but closer to resolution. Edges more defined, movement smoother, less fragmented. The timer read 01 minutes 22 seconds, so it had never stopped. That meant whatever had been in the room with me had been part of the same stream, not separate, not outside it, integrated. The figure shifted slightly, and this time, the movement matched the environment. Shadows responded. The space around it bent subtly, like it had weight now, like it belonged. My chest tightened. That felt worse. The earlier ones had been wrong in obvious ways, distorted, unnatural, easy to identify as something that didn't fit. This was adapting. The chat blinked again. Evaluate. My hand hovered over the mouse. The timer hit 01 minutes 39 seconds. The figure took a step forward, slow, deliberate, each movement precise, like it had practiced. Its head tilted slightly, and even without clear features, I knew, somehow, that it was looking directly at me. Not the camera, me. The memory of the voice replayed in my head. We can see you now. The system hadn't warned me about this. There was no rule for what happened after you were seen. The timer ticked. 01 minutes 52. 01 minutes 53. The figure lifted one arm, not toward the camera, to the side, gesturing, inviting. I felt the pull of it, subtle but real. Not physical, not something I could resist with strength. It was something else, a suggestion that didn't feel like mine. Come closer. Not spoken, understood. I forced my hand down, clicked remove. The screen went black. This time, it didn't immediately load another stream. The interface stayed still, silent. The timer reset. 000. Then disappeared. The chat window cleared. All previous messages gone, replaced by a single line. Evaluation complete. I exhaled sharply, tension releasing all at once, in a way that left me feeling unsteady, like I'd just stepped off something high, without realizing how far the drop had been. Another message appeared. You have been approved. No congratulations, no onboarding, just that. Then, shift begins tomorrow, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And finally, review rules before each session. They may change. The screen went dark. The program closed itself. My desktop returned, like nothing had happened. No trace of the interface. No files. Nothing. I sat there for a long time without moving, listening to the normal sounds of my apartment, the hum of my computer, the faint noise of traffic outside, pipes in the walls. Everything felt thinner than it had before, like I was hearing it through something. I didn't sleep. I told myself it was because of the time, because I'd already been up all night, because my schedule was already broken. That wasn't the reason. The reason was I didn't trust closing my eyes. Morning came slowly, light through the window, ordinary. I checked my email. Nothing from them. No confirmation. No contract. Just a single new message from an unknown address. No subject line. No text in the body. Just an attachment. Rules v2.txt. I didn't open it right away. I made coffee first. Stood in the kitchen longer than necessary. waited for something to feel normal again. It didn't. I went back to my desk, opened the file. Same format as before. Plain text, numbered list, but there were more rules now. 15. The first 10 were the same, word for word. Rule 11. If you experience audio or visual anomalies outside the interface, do not investigate. Rule 12. If you believe a stream is aware of you, terminate it immediately. Rule 13. Do not complete more than one shift in a 24-hour period. Rule 14. If you are addressed directly by name more than once, discontinue all sessions permanently. I stared at that one. More than once. Not once. Once had already happened. The last rule sat at the bottom, separated, like before. Rule 15. If a stream persists after termination, disconnect your device from power immediately. I read through them twice, then a third time. Same feeling as before. Not random, not theoretical, written after the fact, based on something that had already gone wrong. I checked the time. 1:42 a.m. 18 minutes until the shift. I should have walked away, closed the laptop, ignored it. But the pay was real. That part hadn't changed. And there was something else now, something harder to admit. I needed to know what I had seen, and what had seen me. At exactly 2 a.m., the screen flickered. The interface opened on its own. No download this time, no delay, just there, waiting. The clock at the top started counting. A message appeared. Night shift active. Then, remember the rules. The first stream loaded, and before the image even fully formed, before the timer hit 3 seconds, I heard it again, right behind me, closer than before, clearer, saying my name. I muted the audio before the second syllable finished. My hand moved faster than my thoughts, slamming the control like I'd practiced it 100 times instead of once. The sound cut clean, but the damage was already done. I'd heard it again. That made 2. Rule 14 sat in my head, sharp and unavoidable. If you are addressed directly by name more than once, discontinue all sessions permanently. I stared at the screen. The stream had loaded fully now. A room I didn't recognize this time. Larger, industrial. Rows of monitors stacked against one wall. All turned on. All displaying different feeds. Some dark, some moving, some frozen on frames that didn't make sense unless you looked away from them. The camera angle was fixed at the center of the room, facing the monitors, facing something standing in front of them, back turned to the camera. My chest tightened. The posture was familiar, too familiar. The timer read 00:11. The figure shifted slightly, like it was adjusting its stance. Not reacting, not surprised, just aware. I moved my hand off the mouse slowly. I should have terminated the session right then. Closed everything. Pulled the plug. That's what the rules said. But the rules had another pattern to them. They warned you after something became possible, not before. And I had the growing, undeniable sense that stopping now wouldn't undo anything. The figure in the stream lifted one arm and pointed at one of the monitors. The screen it indicated flickered, then zoomed. Not physically, digitally, but without any visible interface causing it. The image filled that monitor. A small room, a desk, a chair, a laptop. My room, my exact angle, my screen, a live feed. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like something inside me had slipped. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The figure in the stream tilted its head slightly to the side, watching the monitor that showed me. Watching me not react, testing. The timer hit 00:36. The chat window pulsed once. Do not acknowledge. It felt almost redundant now, like being told not to touch something after you've already fallen through it. The figure took a step closer to the monitors. Its outline sharpened further. Edges locking into place. Still not fully visible, but closer than anything I'd seen so far. Enough that I could make out the proportions. They matched mine, exactly. Height, build, the slight forward tilt of the shoulders from sitting too long. It raised its other hand, slowly, mirroring something. I realized what it was copying a second too late. My breathing. The rise and fall of my chest. It matched the rhythm perfectly. In, out, in, out. The timer ticked forward. 0052, 0053. One of the other monitors flickered, then another, each one snapping to the same image. My room, from different angles. Some impossible, high corners I didn't have. Behind walls, from inside the room looking out. All of them showing me. Still sitting, still watching. The chat blinked again, faster now. Terminate, terminate, terminate. I moved the cursor, hovered over the control, but the screen lagged, just slightly, a fraction of a second delay that hadn't been there before. The figure's head tilted the other direction, learning, adapting, anticipating. It took another step forward, and for the first time, I saw its face. Not clearly, not fully, but enough. It wasn't distorted anymore. It wasn't incomplete. It was mine. Not a copy, not an imitation, a version, one that looked like it had been stretched thin over something that didn't fit underneath. The mouth opened. I didn't hear anything. The audio was still muted, but I knew what it said, because my screen responded. The chat window filled instantly with a single message, repeated over and over. You already answered. You already answered. You already answered. My cursor froze. Not physically. I could still move it, but the decision locked. Because it was right. I had answered. The first night, when I said hello. Acknowledgement. That's all it needed. Everything after that, the rules, the warnings, the structure, they weren't there to stop it. They were there to slow it down. The monitors in the stream all went black at once, except one, the center, still showing my room. But something had changed. The angle, it was closer now, lower, like the camera had moved, or like something else had taken its place. I felt it, before I processed it. That same shift in the air, right behind me, closer than it had ever been. The system glitched. The chat flooded. Disconnect. Disconnect. Disconnect now. Rule 15. If a stream persists after termination, disconnect your device from power immediately. I didn't click anything. I didn't trust the interface anymore. I reached down and yanked the power cord from the wall. The laptop died instantly. The room dropped into silence. Real silence. No hum. No interface. No timer. Nothing. I stayed completely still, counting seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3. Waiting for something to continue. For something to prove it hadn't worked. Nothing did. After about a minute, I stood up slowly, turned. The room was empty, exactly as it should be. Door closed, lights off, no movement, no sound. I didn't turn the laptop back on. I didn't plug it back in. I left it on the desk and walked out of the apartment before I could change my mind. I stayed at a motel that night, then another. Then I drove 2 states over and stayed with a friend without explaining why. I never opened the program again. As far as I can tell, that part ended. But the rules didn't. Because 3 nights ago, in a completely different place, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning to the sound of my laptop powering on by itself. I had left it unplugged, packed in my bag. The screen was already lit when I saw it. Black interface, white text. No clock this time. Just one line. Night shift active. I didn't touch it. I didn't move closer. I just stood there, watching from across the room. Then the audio clicked on. And even from that distance, even without sitting in front of it, I heard it clearly. Right behind me, saying my name again.